Welcome back. I hope that you're doing well in your teaching and your online courses and it's rewarding and effective. Today we're going to spend some time talking about how to ask questions in online video conferences. As with regular classes, asking questions is an important skill for teachers not only to see if a kid is paying attention, but also to assess learning. We're going to talk about how to ask effective questions for learning. We're also going to learn some strategies on how to overcome what I call tech distance that comes with online learning. Now, because students are not in the same room, differences in physical environment can create challenges. In our last video, we talked about how to work on that. An additional challenge that we can face in video conferences can be the increased feeling of being distant, which can be created from technology. As I mentioned, I call this tech distance. While electronic devices facilitate connections to the class, the hardware and software can cause students to feel an extra step removed in the learning experience. Examples of tech distance can be background noise and mute buttons, especially the mute button. Because of those distances or those distractions from all of the places where students are, many teachers have their students mute their mics. This can be helpful to reduce the noise and the feedback, but it will also reduce the students' willingness to answer questions or to join in a discussion. Students they can be lazy and just not want to push their mute button. And if you spend much time on video conferences, you know exactly what I mean. Now, here are some strategies on how to reduce tech distance. Number one, in our last video, we discussed teaching students about the importance of finding a quiet place to participate. If your students buy into this and participate in quiet rooms, you may eliminate the background noise and students could keep their mics unmuted. And this would be the ideal situation. So encourage those students to find that quiet place. However, if not all students find that quiet place to participate, there's a lot of background noise and muting participants may be your only option. If that's the case, I would recommend the following strategy, which is our number two. When inviting a student to respond to a question, begin with an invitation to acknowledge and reduce the tech distance. For example, Jeff, please unmute yourself and tell us what you think about this concept. Now, this sends a message to everyone in the video conference that the tech distance is not the student's fault, and it also shows the student that we as teachers acknowledge the need for the extra step. Now, regarding the asking of questions, there's many strategies that you have used in the traditional classroom that can be used in assessing learning. You can ask formative questions to determine where students are. At the end of a lesson, you can ask summative questions to determine what the students have learned. You can also use follow-up questions to dive deeper into learning or to determine what a student understands the concepts that are being taught. So continue to use those questions asking skills that you've gained in the traditional class. They're going to come in handy in your online classes as well. Now, online learning has some additional benefits that can help you ask good questions. Most delivery platforms, for example, use a chat box. You can use that chat box to invite students to answer questions. The beauty of this is students have the time to process and to type out and to think about their response carefully. They can edit or reword their answers so it's more refined when it comes out. Now, let me give you an example of how you can use the chat feature to ask effective questions. At some stage in your lesson, you could ask the students a question, for example, and tell them, I would like you to respond in the chat box. Then type the question in the chat box. This will allow the students to review back to it. Give students time to read the questions and begin making responses in that chat box. It would also be helpful to invite the students to read through their peers' answered questions. Now, this works best with students' opinion questions or insights rather than fact or figure type of questions. Responses from students will help them to learn, and it will also help you to assess their learning. Now, to summarize, 1, help students find a quiet place to participate in video conferences. 2, when inviting students to respond to questions, help them to be more comfortable by acknowledging that the tech distance is there. 3, use the chat box to facilitate questions and to look at their answers for learning. I hope this has helped you as you continue to teach in the online realm, and please remember that you are making a difference in the lives of your students.